So today we are going to talk about arm restraints. If we look at this famous video of the crash of Ken Block and Alex Gelsomino at LSPR, you can see that during the rollover, the arm of the co-driver is getting under the arm of the driver, reaching the driver's face, and the outside arm is actually flying outside the window that has been ejected from the car. The fact that the arms of the co-driver are unrestrained allows them to reach out of the car and into the driver area. If you look at the videos of hands device testing, you can see that the arms of the dummy are actually tethered and attached to restraints. And here is another example of the thrust test. And when you can see the movement of the arms when the arms are not holding to something. The main difference between driver and co-driver is that the driver is holding to the steering wheel, whereas the co-driver only holds to a piece of paper with the notes. So during the impact, the hands of the co-driver and his arm are going to fly forward violently before coming back. If you consider that the weight of an arm is 6.5% of a body weight, a 200-pound person would have an arm weighing 13 pounds. In case of a 20G impact, that would be 260 pounds of force applied directly at the tip of a shoulder. Side effect of so much force applied at the tip of the shoulder is if you are wearing a hands device represented here in black, this will apply extreme forces where the blue arrows are on the clavicle, which is a red bone, and this will cause the clavicle to break. And when the clavicle breaks, it loosens the belt and can cause back injuries. The FIA doesn't have any specification for arm restraint. Instead, they recommend window nets, and only SFI in the US has a specification for arm restraints. If you look at what kind of tethers are available, you have basically two kinds. One where the arm restraint has a dedicated tether for each arm, or a white type tether where both restraints are attaching to the same tether. Modern fire suits also might have an SFI rated anchoring point for the arm restraints directly in the fire suit. Some manufacturers like Crow offer three different versions. The one at the top, which is the arm restraint with a dedicated tether, the one in the middle, which is the arm restraint with a Y tether, and wrist restraint that is actually not SFI rated, that you can secure directly to the wrist. And you can also see the difference. You can have the loop that goes in the belt can either be cloth, which wears faster, or have a metal ring, which is better quality and more durable. The manufacturer instructions are usually pretty fuzzy or completely inexistent, so it's hard to know where exactly to anchor the arm restraint. Some say above the elbow, some below the elbow, some more in the middle of the forearm. So it's going to be a trial and error to see what works best for your configuration. Okay, here we have a pair of Simpson arm restraints. They are SFI spec 3.3. Those are 3-inch wide arm restraints, and they have this clip-on system for the clipping on the tether to the arm restraint. Those ones are using a Y-shaped tether. So there is only one hooking point to the belts, and it distributes as a Y to the two tethers. So Margaret is going to put the arm restraint on. So you slide them around your arm. Right now, those are at the minimum setting, smallest setting. So she puts them around her arm like this, and then the little hook is going to go through the shoulder belt here and into the buckle of the seat belt. So here there is only one to secure, and then she can put her other shoulder belt in there. And here is what it looks like once the tethers are hooked up. Here we are also on the shortest length on this. So if she puts the arm restraint above her elbow, here is a range of motion she has on the way up, on the way outside. So here the arm can still go fully out of the car.
Same thing on the other side. She would hit the driver with the arm restraint above the elbow. Now we are going to slide the movement forward is not stopped, so the arm would still fly forward. We are going to go below the elbow just to show the range of motion. Try to go on the driver's side over there. So here the arm stops pretty much at the shifter. Here I'm going to close the door so that you can see how far she can get her arm out of the car. And here we are at below the elbow. Can you put it back above the elbow to show how much you can reach out of the car above the elbow? So here the arm is getting out of the car above the elbow. And now if we go, like most of the fire suits that have it mid forearm, can you put mid forearm to show those anchoring point? Try to get the arms out. That's as far and up as much as you can. With the arm straight and go up. That's as far as the arm can go. It would still hit the bar of the cage on the right-hand side. Yep. And now if you had them at the wrist, so of course here's also restraint would be too big to hold at the wrist, but the range of motion is much more restricted in terms of how far the arm can go. If you have to get out of the car, you have two options. The first one would be like if you were a codriver and you were hooked here, you could just unhook the clip here, but those clips are really not convenient. So it's easier to unhook at the buckle. But now if you want to get out of the car, you really have to slide those restraints out to free your arms to get out, which is easy because Margaret is not wearing a fire suit. When they are tight on a fire suit, that would be much harder to get off. And so if you have to get out in a hurry, those are not super convenient. And those clips here are also not very convenient to remove from the buckle. So we're going to show you another version of arm restraints made by GeForce. So as you can see, those are, if you compare to the size of the belt, those are only 2-inch instead of the 3-inch that the Simpson were. And they are also SFI rated 3.3, but if you look at the pair, only one of them has the SFI tag. So in road racing, they ask you to put a restraint that has a tag on the outside so that it can be seen by the worker at start. Those arm restraints, have separate tethers. So there is one for each arm. There is a larger buckle that will go in the shoulder belt and a nice clip that you can easily actuate to clip the arm restraint itself. So Margaret is going to show you how that works. Here we are going to start by putting first the tether into the shoulder belt and into the buckle. We're going to do the other one. There we go. And now we can secure our tethers to our arm restraint. There we go. And we have our arm restraint in place. So here we have an arm restraint at the shortest setting. So if you can show the range of movement you have on that side, yeah, and if you put it below your elbow. So similar to the other one in terms of range of motion, maybe a little bit more because the other one had the wire was coming a little bit higher up and limiting a bit more. This one actually hasn't been set to the lowest setting. So here she can pretty much have the whole arm out of the car. It doesn't do anything, even if you go on the setting below here. The arm can still go very far out. So we're going to shorten the tether here, which you can also do in the car like she's doing. And here at the shorter setting now, the range of movement, if I close the door, getting the arm out of the car is much harder. Trying to lift the arm up is also limited in movement. Same thing if she had the arm restraint a little bit more toward the forearm. That restricts even more the movement, especially up and outside. But those tethers, even at the shorter setting, allow a bit more range than the previous one. The advantage of those is that as a codriver, if you have to pass your time card at time control, you can leave everything in place. You don't have to unbuckle your belt. You can just take this hook, remove it, and now you have free range of movement to give your time card to the time control marshal. So if you have to get out of the car in case of an emergency with this model, when you release the buckle, like this, both your arms are free. You can get out of the car without having, it's not like the Y where both of your arms are together. Here you can get out of the car with your arm restraints on and run out. Okay, she has the tethers above the elbows here, and the tethers are on the shortest sitting. And she's relatively close to the steering wheel, so if you try to turn your arms around the steering wheel, above the elbow, you can turn the steering wheel.
Well, it limits it.
Limits it still above the elbow. So here we have extended the length of the tether so that Margaret can turn the steering wheel and perform the maneuvers she would need. And how far does your arm get out of the car now? It's much further. So the car would get completely out. And on the other side, would you slap your co-driver in the face? Yeah. Okay. So the problem on the driver's side is when you put the restraints at a length that allows you to actually drive, it doesn't do anything on the lateral side. Can you try to reach the roof? Yeah, and so the same thing, she would still be able to hit the roof with the that level of tethers here that are much longer. You can see those use a triple bar, which is relatively secure setup that will prevent the tethers from getting longer under impact. The double D-ring adjustment like we have here are allowed on the arm restraint itself, but if you have a double D-ring adjustment here for adjusting the length of the tether, those actually are not allowed. They are banned at Bonneville, and I'm not sure if any current SFI rated arm restraints still do that. So here are a bit the difference between the two models of arm restraints we have. It's still up to you to test what works for you. It doesn't look like those arm restraints are limiting any forward movement of the arms. That would still put under impact like this a lot of pressure on the shoulders and the clavicles.
Like the FIA window net, the arm restraints are really designed to prevent the limbs from getting out of the car. SFI tethers will usually have a date of manufacture. I don't know of any sanctioning body who expires arm restraints at this moment, but know that they are dated. To conclude, I think the benefits of arm restraints are going to be limited for drivers, as they need longer length of tethers to be able to maneuver properly the car. It will be more effective for the driver to hold on to the steering wheel. In case of a frontal impact, the benefits of the arm restraints are also going to be limited in restraining the forward movement of the arms. However, in case of a rollover, the arm restraints are going to have a big advantage in keeping the arms, especially of the co-driver, within his space. The lessons learned from our 2017 Montascoutney crash is that the arm restraints were actually not useful at a lower speed impact, but they actually required practice to get out of the car with the tethers. So that's something you would have to practice if you were using them. Professional teams, as shown here in this 2020 WRC Monaco crash, learn to brace in their seat, and you can see the driver keeps his hand on the steering wheel and the co-driver just braces in his seat. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.